Got a special guest here with me today. Second episode in a row we've got him on, Mr. Luca.
I'm back, baby. Let's fucking go.
We're the dynamic duo, the backbone of the UFC, of the AJB's couch.
I think
And-
that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, last episode we were the superstars, man.
What would the UFC do without us? Their cards would just suffer.
Exactly. And what would Australia know about UFC without us?
No, not at all.
Nothing. You know, people live for my predictions. The Friday night predictions that I get wrong and delete every time.
If you want to make donations to Sportsbet, just listen to what this guy's picks.
So I uploaded one on the weekend. I got all of them wrong and I just deleted.
Did you actually delete it?
I always do. Of course I do. That shit's embarrassing.
I almost thought it'd be bad for calling you out on the last one.
Oh, no, I deserve that one. I actually got a nice... I'm going to post a clip of it. Let me get like a few losses together because I've got screenshots of all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a montage of...
I reckon you
else.
just go full Chael Sonnen on it. Like undefeated, undisputed.
I've never lost a round.
Never lost a round.
It's just the team that I picked ended up losing. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah. What could you do about it?
I never lost.
No.
I'm still winning. Yeah.
No. You got to play the long game, you know?
So, yesterday's UFC card, speaking of the long game, most of it was...
A long game.
It was a long night.
Yeah.
Where was it held?
In New Jersey.
New Jersey was put to sleep.
Yeah. And they weren't happy about it either. A lot of boos coming from the crowd.
Especially Belal.
Yeah.
Especially to Belal. Those boos are special. He's such a hated fighter though. He's so hated and I get it. People think he's boring, but man, he's good.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the boring argument. I think, you know, as soon as you step into the cage and as soon as you accept the risks and the consequences, you've kind of put the position you're into. Completely jumbled up my words there.
Yeah.
As soon as you accept that risk and as soon as you step into the cage, you're a winner. And no one else in that crowd, aside from a select handful of fighters, are prepared to make that risk. So to go and disrespect the guy and say that he's a boring fighter, I mean, listen, you could put Tom, Dick, or Harry in there, and that's a boring fighter. Belal went in there, he did the job he had to do. It wasn't the most exciting, most action-packed fight of the night. I understand that point 100%, but to disrespect Belal as a fighter, I mean, that's fucking ridiculous. Come on, the guy's 9-0, or he's in on a 9-fight win streak, rather. He's been building momentum for the last 5 years, and he took the fight on 3 weeks' notice, coming straight out of Ramadan. Gilbert Burns has been riding some crazy momentum, and of course, you know, kudos to Gilbert as well. The guy works in the UFC 24/7. He's there.
His family too. They know all about the UFC. I don't know if you've seen the video of his wife answering a trivia question. I'll send it to you if you haven't.
Oh yeah, please.
But his family is like very well educated on the sport, so he lives and breathes the UFC. That guy.
Yeah,
he's a very solid fighter. I understand he hurt himself, but man, Belal still got the job done. Like that's all he needed to do. He didn't need to knock him out or hurt him.
Yeah, I think it was more so the stakes that were at play with this fight. Yes. So the criticism you could make with the fight is that because it was essentially the determinant as to who's going to fight the winner against Covington and Leon Edwards, and because the stakes were so high on that end, everyone's like, okay, well, if this is, you know, the semi-finals, if you will, then we're going to want to see some action. We're going to want to see something go down. And, you know, unfortunately, Gilbert got injured in, I believe it was round 1. He got a knee to his shoulder.
From a takedown attempt?
No, from a, I believe it was intended to be a body kick and it just landed unconventionally. So the knee actually landed onto his left shoulder. And because of that, he essentially was fighting one-armed. Yeah. Now, if you're Belal and you know that you've got a one-armed opponent, you should make easy work. But, yeah, look, it was unfortunate. It wasn't the fight that we were hoping for. It wasn't the fight that we were expecting. I think I would much rather, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, I think I'd much rather see Belal versus Covington now as opposed to Leon versus Covington.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I don't think Leon's done enough to deserve it. Covington's done enough to deserve it. But I guess Dana's already made up his mind.
Yeah.
And that's the fight that we're getting. Do you think Covington beats Leon?
No.
No?
No.
So you think Leon beats Covington and then he fights Belal and he beats Belal too?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think Leon Edwards is here to stay. I think he's a champion. I think as soon as you get the belt put on you, you're 30% better. And we saw that with the Usman rematch. I mean, Edwards just looks so much crisper, so much sharper. He's been in the game for so long, and Usman had his time. He had his period where he was the king. He did everything that there was to do. But this is Leon Edwards' time now. He's riding some crazy momentum. He feels like he's being disrespected by the UFC in that he doesn't get to say who his next opponent's going to be, which is understandable from Leon Edwards' perspective. Like, he's worked so hard to get to this position. He gets there, and then they're just forcing fighters down his throat. He's like, hang on, wait, where's my leverage? I'm the champion here. I've got the belt, not you guys. Let me pick my next opponent. And I think he would much rather fight Belal anyways.
100%. And I'm really sad that the only reason I'm sad Belal won is because I really wanted to see Edwards versus Burns.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a fight that went down in history.
Yeah.
That would have been a really good fight.
I think we're a bit overextended on Burns, though. I think, we got a bit excited. Burns obviously beating Masvidal, and, that's such an all-star fight with such a high name. But we saw in the fight, like, Masvidal didn't have a lot to offer. And Burns, while he looked good on the night, didn't look amazing.
That's true.
So I think right now...
his last really amazing fight was against Kamzat, and that was a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're looking at a position where the UFC is married to this idea of Covington Edwards, even though the fans are kind of like, well, Bilal's right there. He's on a 9-fight win streak.
He's been screaming for a title fight for so long.
Screaming.
Yeah.
And
do you think he deserves it right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even on the back of his last performance where, you could say it was lackluster, I still think...
But the Gamro fight. And that was a fucking amazing performance.
Exactly.
So that merits, like, being in the conversation of a title shot. That performance alone. But then to go ahead and win another one is like, dude, he's more active than Colby. Since Colby last fought, Bilal's fought 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, why are you giving out title fights? Is it just to sell pay-per-views, or are people deserving them?
Yeah, and if it is just to sell pay-per-views, be honest about it.
Yeah. Tell us you want us to buy it. I'll buy it.
Yeah. But it's like you kind of take away from the significance of the belt if the pay-per-view becomes more important than the belt.
100%. But I think we've spoken about the co-main for too long because the main event is what I want to talk about. Aljamain is overhated.
Yes.
He is the most overhated fighter I've ever seen in a long time. I don't understand the hate. I don't get what the guy has done to you for you to banish him into the mud like that. But something's got to, I need an explanation from someone who hates him as to why do you hate him? Because he fights well, right? He fights clean. He beat arguably who everyone was calling the GOAT. But he was people were writing him off. Did you look at the odds?
No, I didn't.
Cejudo was the favorite.
Really?
Cejudo was the favorite. Clear favorite as well. I think it was very marginal, but he was a favorite. Aljamain has fought time and time again and dominated. All right, he had one day where he wasn't performing, and he got lucky by an illegal knee. I get that, but that is not his fault. If that's you and that happens to you, like you shouldn't continue fighting. Even if you want to, you shouldn't. You're at a disadvantage to finish that fight off. So arguably, you should take the way out and say, no, I'm not going to continue this fight. That was an illegal knee. So what's the hate there? Like, why do people hate Aljamain so much?
I think it's tricky with Aljo, right? Because if that situation occurred in one, then, PDR's the champion and the story is completely written in a different way because of these weird regulations that you have with the UFC that they have to commission certain rules in order to be allowed to practice in Nevada and New York and the rest of it and all the boring legal stuff. This is just a form of MMA that we do have access to with the UFC. So it means that you can't have 12-6 elbows, you can't have kneeing or kicking of downed opponents, and in Asia and in Europe, they don't have such strict regulations. So you could definitely make the case that Aljo, the way he won the belt wasn't dignified, but I think now he's at a position where he's got one of, if not the most bantamweight title defenses. He's got the most wins as a bantamweight. He's got the most...
he's taken out 2 of the best ever.
He's taken out 2 of the best ever.
TJ and Cejudo. 2 of the goats.
Exactly.
Yeah, the best. These fighters are held in such high regard, and Aljo just swept them aside. Who's left in that division for him? Sean O'Malley. And he does the same thing to Sean.
Yeah, I think so.
He destroys Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
His movement against Cejudo was so good. I liked his little he was stepping in, stepping out, leg kick, back out.
Yeah.
And Cejudo, he was too short to even catch him. It was a close fight. Not gonna lie. It was closer than I thought it was gonna be.
Did you have Aljo winning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Aljo winning. Like, it was too close to call. I get it for a lot of people, but when you really want to go, I watched it twice.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back and watched it the second time, I'm like, Cejudo didn't really offer much. Like,
Yeah. I think there's a problem with recency bias as well, in that the later rounds tend to be scored more.
right. And
with more
whoever's
significance.
ahead in the last minute,
Yeah.
kind of steals the round. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Nate Diaz effect, right? Like Nate Diaz with his massive gas tank is able to put on the heat in the late rounds of 4 and 5. So he tends to win these moral victories. I mean, he did against Leon Edwards. Like, Leon Edwards won that fight, but everyone knows Nate Diaz in round 6 cleans up Leon Edwards any day of the week.
In round 6, Volkanovski against Islam.
Same
like,
story, right?
story.
Like, you might not have won it on the technical side of points, but the moral victory you did get.
Yeah.
And so I think because Cejudo came in and had such a strong round 5, everyone in the MMA community is very emotionally charged, reacting to that round 5.
So we've got like a Volkanovski conundrum. Because I'll go back and watch the Volk fight, I still think Islam wins. But
Right.
because Volk was winning 4 and 5, you're like, no way. Like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
How did they score it that way?
I mean, Aljo definitely won round 1. Round 3, in my opinion, was probably the most contentious because it depends as a judge what you're favoring.
Yeah.
Round 4 was definitely Aljo's, and 2 and 5 definitely go to Cejudo. So it's really round 3 that we're looking at here, and you have to break down.
Exactly. And it's hard to break down when you're a judge, and round 3 was 2 rounds ago.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of make a mental note. And
Yeah, but that's your job as a judge. I don't give judges any leeway. I think,
you don't have much to do.
Yeah.
You don't have much to do, honestly.
It's a tough gig, and there's a lot of pressure, and that's the reason why we have 3 judges. I think there's 2 problems going on. Firstly, the scoring system is archaic.
No one knows how it works. You ask anyone to explain it, they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes down to like,
Is it damage? Is it control time? Is it like, what is it?
yeah, like as a judge, do you favor more the takedown attempt or the takedown defense?
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, if you snuff a takedown, that shouldn't score you any points.
Really?
Yeah, no.
It's like defending a takedown shouldn't score you points.
I mean, if you're just kind of dropping your hips and preventing someone taking you down, like,
yeah,
I
guess a sprawl might be a little bit different. Like a real sprawl,
like if
like
you
where
just
you end up
sprawl.
on top.
No, but like if you just sprawl and then you kind of get into a clinch, then nothing's.
What have you done? Yeah, what have you
yeah.
done? Yeah, I get that.
There's no effective damage. You haven't really done anything to your opponent than maybe gas them out a little bit.
What about this? A takedown or a stand up from the ground? Like if someone is on the ground and they've stood up. Because I feel like if they scored those in higher regard, Volk would have taken that fight against Islam.
Yeah.
The ability to stand up from a less dominant position.
In wrestling, the way they score it is that if it's a very like tight position where you can't really tell who's got dominance, it's whose head is above the other opponent's.
Right.
So a lot of that has to play into it. Like it's tricky, man, and the system needs to be updated. It needs to be changed. They need to get rid of Cleary altogether. He's just one of the worst UFC judges I've ever seen in my life. He's he gave round 5 to Sterling. Yeah. How? On what fucking planet does Sterling win round? Sterling doesn't even think he won round 5.
I saw that.
That was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So if that was the case, his scorecard would have been Cejudo.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, if he judged correctly. But then he also gave round 3 to Cejudo, which is a bit up in the air. So
yeah, I mean, look, it's all ifs, ands, and buts. But I think at the end of the day, look, Aljo definitely won the fight. Cejudo, coming back off 3 years out of the cage and performing in the way he did.
He yapped way too much. He yapped. I'm sorry, but you spoke too much shit where it wasn't even like, I'm selling this fight. It's like, I'm fucking annoying.
Right.
That's like the pillows. Dude, win this fight first and then start kicking pillows with Volkanovski's face into the crowd.
On, man.
Bro, that's Volkanovski.
It was funny.
I get that it was funny, but like, bro, you did all that just to lose. Like,
yeah, I think Cejudo definitely rocked up. I think he's just been 3 years out of the game, and the game's evolved. And Aljo, what he did do very well was use his frame and use his length to, kind of keep Cejudo at bay. There's a lot of leg kicks going on. There's a lot of body kicks going on.
Oh, his kicks were phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And it's going to be interesting against Sean O'Malley because while I do think Aljo does have the edge, he doesn't have that advantage over O'Malley. O'Malley is actually not significantly, but a head taller.
A head taller, and he's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
His head. He's so quick. That's his danger. But in saying that, I think Sterling was more respectful of Cejudo's wrestling. So I think he chose to avoid that and just keep him at bay rather than engage with him in those situations.
Right.
But against O'Malley, dude, take his ankles and throw him to the floor.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a long night for O'Malley.
Fold him in half in round 1.
Fold him and just backpack him. It's going to be a long night for O'Malley, I reckon.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you like O'Malley? Like, do you like the persona he puts forward?
I love him.
Right.
I actually love him. I love his personality, his cockiness. But do I think he's ever going to be champion? I don't think so. I don't think he's championship material. He's an exciting fighter. He's like a wonder boy.
Right.
Think wonder boy when you think watching him fight.
A journeyman.
Journeyman, right? He puts on shows, and he's been good so far. But he hasn't really fought anyone other besides Peter Yan, which is
again one of those ones up in the air.
Did he win or did he not win? But he did well to last the 5 rounds with Peter Yan.
Yeah.
But now it's a different opponent in Sterling. Yan is here. Sterling is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
When it comes to fight IQ as well. So what do you do when Sterling's on your back and he's got you in the body triangle and he's just hammering her away? What does O'Malley do?
Yeah, I think realistically, O'Malley's best shot is to keep it standing for as long as possible, which is hard, especially when you're up against the human backpack, the champion, the most bantamweight title defenses, the most bantamweight title wins in Aljamain Sterling. It's not going to be an easy night.
No.
I think there is a path to victory
Do you like O'Malley? Do you like that persona?
Oh, look, I appreciate fighters that know how to tell a story. I appreciate fighters that know how to market themselves, and if that means dyeing your hair pink and wearing ridiculous chains and hanging out with Tekashi 6ix9ine, then hey, that's what you got to do. You got to get paid at the end of the day.
100%. He makes so much money off the UFC as well.
Yeah.
Like he makes his merch, his Twitch, his merchant. Said merch, but like he's got like a what's it called? A Discord sub. Like he's got Patreon.
Yeah,
makes lots of streams of income. Smart dude.
Yeah, for sure.
He's smart dude. He's making his money, but like I said, championship material, no. Probably like a step above where Paddy Pimblett is going to be.
Oh, I think he is miles ahead of Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah.
I think Paddy Pimblett. I mean, when's the last time anyone even spoke about him?
Oh man, he needs to come back. He needs to come back.
The drop off of Paddy Pimblett was hard.
He needs to come back and answer. Paddy, you need to come back and answer some questions for us.
Yeah.
Are you really about that life, or are you just here to collect your check and run your mouth?
He is nose deep in a cheeseburger right now. He can't even hear you.
I'm in a cheeseburger, lad. I'm in a cheesy burger, lad. Have a pint, lad.
Yeah. He's too busy watching.
Yeah, look, that weight cut thing fucks him too. Like, dude, he's got a lot of problems that he needs to sort out. Do you see? I don't see him fighting many more times in the UFC, honestly.
I think he'll be one of those fighters that hangs around a little bit too long.
Yeah.
I think because he's got the draw and the attention and the fame.
He's addicted to that.
Yeah, I think he's one of those characters that like thrives off of that stuff. So as long as he can get mid to low level fighters and keep beating them and keep kind of building that audience and talking his shit, I mean, he will hang around for as long as he can, but the shine's already starting to wear off with Paddy.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel a bit tired. It's starting to feel a bit overused. It's starting to feel a little bit like McGregor. Like McGregor.
I'll always tune into a McGregor fight.
Of
always,
course.
No matter what.
I mean, look, McGregor, Mike Perry, any day of the week.
In bare knuckle? Oh,
yes,
bro, I'm there.
please.
Take my money.
Yes.
Take my money. Anyway, so moving on, we're going to look at the next UFC card, which is 289, which is, again, I think it's going to be just another flat card, if I'm being honest with you.
Is Amanda Nunes headlining?
Break meant to be Amanda Nunes versus... Yeah, she is. It was meant to be Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Pena is out with a broken back.
Oof.
Or something like that, a back injury.
Right.
So Irene Aldana has stepped in. Now, Irene Aldana, some of you may not know her. She's a little bit old. Bit older than Nunes, but she's on a 4-fight win streak. Most recent, she beat Macy Kiasen. She is going to get destroyed.
Sorry. bad manners to sleep during a podcast. Oh, come on. This is Amanda Nunes fight to win. Like, the writing's on the wall. You can't sell us this one. Sorry, Jane. I ain't buying.
And
I ain't buying. Who's on the undercard? Who's co-headlining?
Charles and Benil.
Again, Charles Oliveira, yep, great. Love him. I think he's going to win. But does it sell a fight for me? No, not really. I feel like the magic of Charles Oliveira was when he was champion and when no one could touch him. Now that he's got that taint on his record and he's kind of lost a couple fights and he's missed weight and he hasn't looked his best, I think he struggles to sell pay-per-views.
Yeah. He'll always have my pay-per-view, though.
Right.
Purely because I'll always remember the time he's beating Ferguson and then beating... who did he beat after Ferguson? Chandler.
Yeah.
And then beating Gaethje.
Oh, he had one of the best runs in UFC history.
He took out every massive lightweight that was on people's names in 1 year.
Yeah.
Took them all out.
Yeah.
So he'll always have my pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to take out Benil. And I think he gets his rematch with Islam.
Right.
I think he does.
I think Islam's beatable.
He deserves his rematch with Islam. I think he watches that Volkanovski and Islam fight. Oliveira watches that and licks his lips.
Yeah.
And says, I can beat this guy. If Volkanovski can do it, I can do it. I think he got complacent. He threw a stupid double knee and he ate a left hook, fell to the floor. Yeah. He got complacent. I think a focused Charles Oliveira, like the one that rocked up against Gaethje, he looked at Gaethje and said, I can finish you any way I want. I can knock you out. He knocked him down. Instead of mounting him to beat the shit out of him, he chose to take his back and choke him out.
Yeah.
That was more like I'm going to beat you my way kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's that guy. He's got that in him. I think he can look at Islam and
I think the Volkanovski fight revealed a lot about Islam and kind of showed that he is definitely beatable.
Yeah.
And there are definitely holes in his game. I don't want it to happen because I want the rematch and I want Volk to do it.
Yeah, I get you.
I think if Islam loses, then where does that leave Volk?
I think Volk does it to Charles too.
Really?
Yeah, man. I think similar to an Ortega fight for him.
Okay.
Very similar to an Ortega fight where he might be into trouble.
He might actually have more success with Oliveira.
Why is that?
I think because Oliveira's striking is like very risky. It's like he plays a very high risk striking game. He's not afraid of getting hit, which is absolutely fine when you're up against Islam, when you're up against Volk. No bueno. Yeah. No bueno for anyone involved. You don't want to get hit by Volk ever.
Never. No, because he'll hit you and he won't stop hitting you.
Yeah.
He won't stop.
Yeah. He just needs that small taste of blood and then that momentum builds and builds and builds and builds. And the guy's gas tank is just unfucking believable.
100%. So you're picking Oliveira?
Yeah, I like Oliveira. I think he's got a good chance. I think if he plays a smart game, he doesn't have to go for anything crazy. He can drag this out for 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. I think is a pretty comfortable win.
Inactive a little bit from Benil as well, coming off a couple of injuries. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Speaking of that division, did you hear about Tony Ferguson?
Yeah, I did, man. That's sad.
Horrible, man.
That's terrible. That's sad. Prayers out to his family. I hope Tony gets the help that he needs because he clearly needs help.
Yeah,
he clearly needs help, and I think the UFC should stand by him because he is the way that he is because of the life that he's given to that company.
Yeah.
He's given his life to that company and I think they should stand by him and help him.
Yeah.
Tony, man, I hope things work out for him and I'm glad no one's injured.
Yeah.
In that accident.
I mean, he flipped a car. Like that's not light work.
Yeah, it's not light work. I can only imagine what he's feeling right now, the embarrassment.
He was probably just training. It's probably one of his weird training regimes for his next fight.
Yeah, look, I know, I know it's funny because Tony's cracked, but bro, I was actually sad, man.
I know. Yeah. But there's humor in sadness, man. You have to find it. I mean, Tony Ferguson went from hitting elbows against trees to flipping cars to prepare against
Maybe he flipped the car so he can be like, man, let's see if I can counteract my weight and balance and not get hurt. He was there ninja, one foot on that window, one foot on that window, like this. Man.
I mean, if Tony wasn't in the car, that car would have been completely written off.
He saved that car. I reckon he elbowed the steering wheel or something. But look, Tony, man, get some help.
Yeah, definitely get some help.
Get some help. There's no shame in it, brother. CTE is it's a dangerous.
It's a motherfucker.
It's a motherfucker, and I think it's got him.
Yeah.
Like watching it, when he fought Nate Diaz, I'm like, dude, man, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
That's not Tony, but anyway, guys, that has been episode 3 of the AJB UFC Fight Night. It's been my good friend Luca. Luca, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate
Thank you
your
for
input.
having me. Anytime.
And we will see you again soon, I'm sure. We might make this a common theme.
I'm sure. And I just want to send some love out to you guys, man. You guys are killing it on socials. You're killing it on YouTube right now. You know, I always kind of like to pay attention to the people around me. So I make sure like I'm sending everyone love. And you guys have been fucking killing it. I mean, I love the food reviews. I love Freddie. I love TK. I love Sui. I love all you guys. You guys are killing it. If you guys haven't already, smash the subscribe button. I mean, these guys are here for the long run. They're going to be providing you the best entertainment and the best content in the game. I wouldn't sleep on these guys at all. Smash the subscribe button. It's right there. 2 seconds of your time. You could have done it already by the time I finished the sentence.
And don't forget, we're the number 2 podcast in the world. The number 1 podcast in the world is Luca's podcast. Link in bio. Check it out. He interviews MMA fighters. So if you want to hear these CTE kicking in and observe it, go ahead and watch.
Yes.
Sorry? He said he loves you. We love him too.
MMA fighters and engineers.